my sewing friends. Let's talk about the Rae Dress from Tessuti Patterns. I'm Jen, and clearly this isn't my sewing room. Shout out to Lindsay from Inside the Hem. She said she would gladly trade sewing rooms with me if this was included. I'm outside today on an absolutely gorgeous day. Let's talk about the Rae Dress from Tessuti. I have a lot of things to say about this, and I have to tell you before I get started regarding Tessuti. I think that they are a New Zealand company. They're an independent pattern company, but they're also a fabric store. You can find them online, and I became aware of them when I did a collaboration with Kristen from the Dahlia Society. She made Simplicity 8640, and I made the Eva dress, which she picked for me. I picked the Simplicity for her. She picked the Eva dress for me from Tessuti. And I was not prepared when I went in to this pattern. I didn't know what to expect. And so I'm a big 4 person. I had a lot of criticism for the way that the instructions were done, the way they tell you to put things together, and half the time I didn't know what they were talking about. But, and it's a big but, I came away with 2 absolutely beautiful dresses. I wear them all the time. I get compliments on them all the time. And I used that bodice to substitute for another dress that I made. It's a McCall's pattern that I adapted, but that bodice was terrible. And so I took that Tessuti bodice and put it on that dress. Absolutely perfect. I don't know how they do this, but they draft patterns so beautifully. The fit is amazing. So while I was really frustrated with those instructions, because honestly, I did not know what to expect, and I was very critical of them, I still ended up with 2 beautiful dresses. So because of that, I thought, okay, you know what? I know I criticized the heck out of them, so I probably should go back and give them another try. I know they love to work with linen, with the things that they design, so I thought, okay, I've got some linen, let's just go with that. So this is linen that I got at Joann's, and I knew it would work great for this dress, so I ended up with yet another fabulous dress that I know I'm going to wear all the time. Let me tell you what they say. Forward side seams and a deep lantern hem subtly shape this knee-length pull-on shift dress. Other design features include a wide gathered neckline, inseam pockets with top stitch detail, which you can't see, but they're right there, and options for a sleek sleeveless look with bound armholes or soft elbow-length sleeves with gathered hems. This dress is versatile and trans-seasonal. It really, truly is. Your instructions will look like this when you print them out. Let me kind of go down and give you an overview of what that whole instruction situation is like and my experience with it. I made a size 14. If you are an American who has not converted to the metric system in the world, I know we're the only ones, I know, that's how we are. Make sure that you have a measuring tape that has centimeters on it. This one that I have has inches on the top and metric on the bottom, and it has inches on the other side. So make sure that you have something like this, or maybe even one like this that has inches and then it has centimeters on the other side, because you're going to need to measure for your size in centimeters. Everything else is kind of in inches and centimeters, except for seam allowances, which are always in inches. I know it's this odd mix, but that's okay. As long as you can figure it out, you're in good shape. Something else that they talk about that confused me the first time I made a Tessuti pattern was something called Vilene. Vilene is a brand name like Pellon, and it's just a brand of non-woven stabilizer. So once you know that, then going in as an American who isn't familiar with Vilene, if you're not, then you know what they're talking about. I didn't know, but that was okay because with the other dress, I figured it out, so I was all good. For this dress, any stabilizer will work. They want you to use a sew-in tearaway, but that's so that it won't show after you stabilize like the armholes. I think actually the armholes are all that you stabilize, and I didn't have to use that because I made the sleeved version. But really, I would have probably just cut strips of interfacing and then stabilized this right inside the seam line. You can do that. You can use the Vilene, you can use tearaway, you can use sew-in and just cut it away. You know, the most important thing there is that it doesn't show on the inside. Elastic. This calls for elastic around the neckline and also around the sleeves. For both, they recommend 3/8 inch elastic. I did use that on the neckline, but I used 3/4 inch elastic on the sleeves because I just wanted a wider look. So let's move on to the instructions. The instructions are very, very good, especially if you're a beginner. There are a lot of photographs, the paper and then the fabric. And you can see, I found it a little bit hard to see exactly sometimes, occasionally, not usually, but they're using a linen here that's very wrinkly, and it's a hard color to see. But you know what? You can still get it. This is the kind of stuff that you have, and they go step 1, step 2, step 3, and they will indicate whether they're talking about the sleeved version or the sleeveless version, view A or view B. They just are meticulous about the instructions, the way they take things step by step. So I gotta tell you, if you are a beginner, this will help you a lot. I think that was really, really smart on their part to get that detailed. Although I'm an experienced sewer, I still wanted to take the time to really thoroughly read what they were telling me and do it exactly like they said to do it. And so for that reason, it was a little tedious. It wasn't frustrating, but it was tedious to have to think about the whole thing as I was doing it, because I tend to just go, oh, okay, that's what you want me to do, I'll just do it. Instead of doing exactly what they wanted, the way they wanted it done. But I think that was fair. And especially for a beginner, I think they gave you such good instruction. They put pockets in different than I had done them, but I really liked them. As I took it little by little, it made sense. And I got it, and it worked. They give you a tip on crimp stitching, which is, I had heard of before, but I didn't hear about it until probably 2 years ago. What you do is you stick your finger behind your presser foot, and as you stitch, you just keep it there and the fabric all bunches up. What ends up happening is a very gentle gather, like ease stitching, which saves you the trouble of doing a line of basting and then pulling it up as you go. Like for a sleeve head or for any other time you have to ease something in. I didn't do all the top stitching, and I also started to not do all the stay stitching because they call for a lot of stay stitching. If you are just starting out, absolutely, I see the need for it. And as I would do it, I would see, oh, okay, well, that's why you want to do it. A lot of it had to do with like sew a line of stay stitching and then fold on that line, which is so much easier when you're not just on a curve, which is usually when I've done it, or a very narrow hem. A lot of times they'll tell you to fold on the line of stitching, and then you can fold a very narrow or a baby hem. That's so useful. But they had you doing it on the hem of the sleeve, and obviously you're making a casing, and I just didn't find that necessary. And I think there was some amount of it around the neckline. You know, at one point I finally just kind of went off the rails, and I thought, okay, my brain is getting tired of all these little bitty detailed things that you have to do. I'm just going to do it the way I want. I still got a beautiful dress. It was fine. I ended up shortening the dress by about 4 inches. And, you know, that's standard on any dress. You know, you don't make it exactly like the pattern says because everybody's a different size. Everybody's a different height. No problem. You put a bottom band on, which I loved because you didn't have to hem it. It was great. I ended up taking out the center back seam after I had stitched it, because with this buffalo plaid, the stripes weren't lining up. Not just the plaid, but the stripes weren't lining up because I didn't have enough fabric to do this. So I used a coordinating fabric on the bottom for the band. Worked fantastically. And so I took it out and I redid it, and I was afraid that it was going to get all messed up, but it was fine. It was fine. I did not bother to match anything on the side seams. You know what? And it's such a simple dress that, you know, I just didn't care. Your hands are going to be in your pockets a lot of the time, so like I say, I didn't care. I matched the stripes on the band, but I gotta say, putting that bottom border on was, oh, I just love it anytime I don't have to do a hem. I love that. And again, I gotta rave about this. Tessuti does fit exceptionally well. I didn't have to alter anything, and I could have ended up looking like a sack of potatoes in this dress because it's a shift dress with a lantern shape. It's shaped well enough through the bodice and the waistline that I don't look like a sack of potatoes at all. I don't think. I hope you don't think that either, but I can't get over how they're able to do that. They just, wow, it's amazing to me that their patterns are this well drafted. I would gladly make another Tessuti pattern. I'm very pleased with the result that I got, and I know that next time I'm just going to toss the instructions and do what I want. I'm not a beginner anymore. I know how to put a dress together. And so if you know how to put a dress together, you can look at the instructions, read them through, just so you're kind of familiar, but do whatever you want. And to be honest, do whatever you want with any pattern you get. I know I laugh and say, well, I just look at the instructions as friendly suggestions, but you know, you put a bodice together enough times, you kind of know how to put a bodice together. It's not difficult. And once you get used to doing it, piece of cake. So if you're interested in this particular dress when you see it, then I would highly suggest that you give this a try. I have nothing but praise. I'd say out of 10, this is at least a 9. Just for fit and the ease of construction, not instruction, but construction. Had I been gonna just whiz through this, I probably would have just done side seam pockets, but I like the pockets that they do. I think they look nice. I didn't do all the top stitching, but you know, you can do it or not do it, it's up to you. I really like this dress. That's it for now for me, and I will see you next time, and thanks for watching, and don't forget, who loves you the most?